They do a good job every. All right, so with that, we're going to get into our predictions for the NFC. I think that this conference is going to be wide open this season. I think that there's no clear-cut number one team. Each team has flaws, and it's going to be an interesting season for sure. So we're going to start off with the NFC West. And at the top of the NFC West, I've got the San Francisco 49ers. I've got them at their win total is 11.5. I've got them going over that. This is an all-star team. They haven't had to pay Brock Purdy yet. They're going to have to pay Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk. But as long as they get that done, this is going to be a team that has, from 2 to 53, one of the best rosters that we've seen in a long time. And as long as Brock Purdy can manage the game, I think they're going to be one of the best teams in the NFC. It's going to be hard to compete with them. And then, shocker, at number 2, I got the Seahawks. I got the Seahawks over the Rams this season. I think Mike Macdonald, he's wiping the slate clean. He's taken all the Pete Carroll era things down from Seattle, and he's got a whole new defense with a mix of youth and experience. I mean, I think that Mike Macdonald's going to call a great defense, but I think the story with this team is going to be Ryan Grubb coming from Washington, bringing the high-paced, cutting-edge offense that's going to open up the game for guys like Jackson Smith and Jigba, DK Metcalf, to really have explosive seasons. And so I think that while I have the Seahawks on an upward trend as a team, just like that, I've got the Rams on a downward trend. I think Sean McVay, he's unquestionably a top 5 coach. I'm not going to question their coaching acumen for sure. Not going to question Sean McVay. However, I can question the game plan as it revolves around an aging QB with injury concerns and a dynamic running back. Kyron Williams is a great running back, but he also has injury concerns. So if either of those guys go, the entire, which is likely to happen at some point in this season, it's the NFL, let's be real, that whole team could collapse like a house of cards. And then finally, I've got the Arizona Cardinals. I think that they're going to go under 6.5, but I think they are going to be a sneaky good team in some ways. I don't think that they're going to be able to win just based on the depth that I've described in this division. They're not going to be able to get to 7 wins, but I think that they should consider it a good season if Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. are able to build a connection. I think that, and if they are able to build a dominant connection, then who knows how far they could go. I mean, I don't want to put a cap on this team. Jonathan Gannon's a good defensive coach. And so I think they're not a team to be disrespected by any means, but in the NFC West, like I said, it's going to be one of the best divisions in football. So you can't afford to have a roster that's lacking in any way.
Cardinals off the bat just strike me as, don't worry about the spread, bet the team total overs if you're going to make a Cardinals bet. Just based off the dynamic playmakers that they do have on the offensive side and, seeing if they're going to gel with Kyler Murray. But, I mean, Trey McBride he is – talk about the next up tight end in the league. I mean, at least one of them coming up along with the guys like Sam Laporta. But like you said, Marvin Harrison Jr. And, we'll see what Kyler Murray still has left. I think that's going to be interesting to see. I mean, that's going to be the make or break. I like Jonathan Gannon. I think he's a good defensive coach. But Rams, I don't know. We'll see. Their win total was at 6.5 last year. I bet that over, and that hit with flying colors. I mean, we'll see what happens with Kyron Williams. Shout out to him because he basically won my fantasy championship last year. Free agent pickup of the year. But that defense is aging. And I think that's something that is no Aaron Donald.
Lost Aaron Donald.
And no Aaron Donald. I mean, you don't replace a Hall of Famer in one season. So there's a lot of question marks. And as you said, I mean, Matt Stafford's getting up there in age. He always has had injury concern, but we know he is one of the toughest guys in the NFL to bounce back from that. But I like Seattle, but I mean, there's the top end talent at San Francisco, along just with the guys who aren't making I'm talking outside of playmakers, just talking defensive line and offensive line. I mean, they're stacked across the edge on all of that. If the Ayuk situation gets handled, you still have Christian McCaffrey back there. You still have Debo. And, Brock Purdy, as you said, Pat, is a guy who, why not put it out? You have nothing to lose this year. Let him go out there and sling it. He was the QB6 last year. I mean, he's shown he can do it. And until they give us a reason to doubt them, I don't see them not winning this division.
Yeah, for me personally, I was early on this. I feel like the NFC West is the most talented division in the NFC. I think it's between them and the NFC North. I think Arizona is a better team than Minnesota right now. Arizona, I actually love this team. I do have them with the under 6.5 win total. But I think like Mike said earlier, I think there's a lot of fantasy sleeper picks on this team. Trey McBride is not a sleeper anymore. And I do think Kyler Murray will be more healthy and more upright than he's ever been. Paris Johnson seems like he's a franchise tackle for them. I think he's sliding over to tackle this year with Jonah Williams coming in at right tackle. So I think keeping Kyler Murray healthy is very important. The only concern with this group is the defense. BJ Ojolari tore his ACL in camp. Some questions in camp around the rookie Darius Robinson. So they do have some issues up front. I do think they have some issues in the secondary with some corners. They're going to be starting a rookie corner, Max Melton, it looks like. So it's going to be tough off the bat. And then the best team in this division has to be San Francisco still. I do have them over 11.5 wins. But I do think it's going to be tougher in the conference than it has been for them in the last, at least since last season. The biggest questions I have with the San Francisco 49ers is the offensive line. Brandon Ayuk, it looks like he's, as of now, staying put. I mean, it looks like New England just pretty much dropped out of that trade conversation. But regardless, I think it's important to get Trent Williams in camp, getting reps. They are starting a right guard, Dominic Pooney from Kansas. He's a rookie. So there still are some questions about this team. And then the health of the defense. I'm concerned about Hufanga getting back the safety. He's elite safety for them. If he's not back, if Drake Greenlaw is not back soon, Drake Jackson is going to miss all of camp as well. I'm concerned about some of their depth, but the top end talent is definitely there. As far as the two teams in the middle, I have the Rams and the Seahawks. I have the Rams going under 8.5 wins, and I have the Seahawks going over 7.5 wins. But it's going to be right there, I think, in that window of 7 to 9 wins. With this division, I feel like all these teams are going to beat up on each other. So that'll be tough for them, but I think both teams are extremely talented. I'm pretty bullish on the Rams just because of their offense. One game that I'm really excited for, week 1, I think the Rams are going to kick the door open on the Detroit Lions, and we can talk about that when we talk more about the Detroit Lions.
Ooh, I would love that.
But we can talk more about the Seahawks. I think Byron Murphy II, I think he's the best defensive player in this year's draft. I don't know how much he will play with Draymond Jones and Leonard Williams there, but I'm extremely high on him. I think he's going to have a really good year. The question with the Seahawks, and I think what's going to do them in this year is going to be their offensive line play. They did add Connor Williams. I think that was the last big name center.
Just now, right? That was
a couple hours
just
ago.
recently. Yeah.
Yep. So I like what they're doing. I love the direction they're in. I love Mike McDonald. I think they're just a few years away, maybe even just a year away from really competing. And Geno Smith, love him as a player. I just don't know if he can sustain high play for 17 weeks. And I don't think he's going to stay healthy this year. He's already missed some camp. I think that's going to be their fault. They're what does them in this year. And then I think the Rams I think they just have so much competition on their schedule this year. It's going to be really tough to win all those games this year. I have them at about 8 wins.
I love the potential for the Seahawks, though, just with Ryan Grubb and a kind of air it out offense for, one of the first times for Geno Smith, a guy we know who can get the ball downfield. And as you said, I mean, if you talk about depth of a wide receiver trio, I mean, DK, Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba, I mean, that's a top 5 group
and
in
Bobo.
the league.
I love Bobo
and Jake Bobo, absolutely. But I think Ryan Grubb's play calling and the execution when it comes to just are they going to be turning the ball over? How much pressure are they going to be putting on that defense? Obviously, I mean, that they have Mike McDonald. He was the head coach head coach. He was the defensive coordinator for Baltimore, number 1 defensive scoring unit in the league last year. I mean, I think they addressed all of or at least many of the concerns on that side of the ball from a personnel and coaching standpoint. It's just going to be putting that together. And as you said, the health of Geno, is he going to be able to hold up? And, we've seen it before. I mean, is he going to turn into a pumpkin again? And, are the turnovers going to come, and is that going to come back to bite him? I mean, that's all to be seen. But I think the potential is there for them to possibly go over that. I like them going over that 7.5 win